America for Americans. Date published between 1920 and 1929. This pamphlet, published by the Ku Klux Klan, lists the reasons for joining the Klan and contains the Ku Klux Creed. In 1924, prominent Emporia newspaper publisher William Allen White entered the Kansas gubernatorial race to campaign against the Ku Klux Klan's growing influence in the state and the nation after World War I. White lost but helped re-elect anti-Klan Republican Charles B. Griffith as Kansas Attorney General. In office, Griffith acted as plaintiff in the Kansas Supreme Court case State of Kansas versus Knights of the Ku Klux Klan. As a result, the state denied the Klan a charter to legally operate, which led to the Klan's decline in Kansas by 1926. America for Americans. Is there a native-born American whose heart does not swell with pride as he gazes upon this wonderful land that gave him birth? Is there one who, being a son of this great land of liberty, could owe allegiance to a foreign nation, when in his country there is peace and prosperity, where every man is equal, where his home is safe, where his children have every sort of educational advantages, where he can worship if he wants to and how he wants to, where he can enjoy life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness? Who is the native-born American whose blood does not quicken at the sight of the starry banner that prompted Francis Scott Key to write his immortal lines? Who would not give his life that this flag, which waved from Bunker Hill, from Perry's flagship, from Moreau Castle, and at St. Mihiel, may still float supreme? Yet there are those who for a mess of pottage would sell their birthright and see this flag torn from these sockets and trampled. The Knights of the Ku Klux Klan respect other flags, but bow to none but Old Glory, and pledge themselves to see that it shall always float supreme, conscious of the fact that devotion to deity, to obey and uphold the law and constitution of our country is necessary. No people should be as proud of their heritage, their traditions and forebears as America's native sons. Why? Because their veins run the courage of the Pilgrims, the bravery of Boone, the wisdom of Washington, the sagacity of Franklin, the nobility of Lincoln and Lee. Surely the blood of kings and potentates could be no more royal, no lineage more noble. The Knights of the Ku Klux Klan desire that this blood be not polluted, but be kept pure as a sacred heritage, and thereby forge on the front and take its place at the pinnacle of all nations of the world, where purity, Christianity, peace and prosperity reign supreme. This is one of the ultimate desires of the Knights of the Ku Klux Klan. We are now the most envied of all nations. We are looked upon as a utopia by the poor, oppressed, and discontented of other lands. And to America they come and suck from her bosom her riches, and at the same time maintain allegiance to their own nation. America has become more and more a melting pot, and her native-born in many sections are being pushed into the background by the flood of foreigners, most of whom retain allegiance to a foreign flag. The Knights of the Ku Klux Klan do not feel that it was for the refuse population of other lands that the Pilgrim Fathers worked and suffered to transform a stern and rock-bound coast into a civilized country, where men might have a right to worship God in their own way. The Knights of the Ku Klux Klan do not feel that it was for these that our forefathers overthrew foreign oppression in 1776. But feel that they suffered in the ice and snow of Valley Forge, that we, her native-born, might secure political independence, social security, happiness, and the improvement and progress of our race. The Knights of the Ku Klux Klan do not feel that it was for these that the train of covered wagons moved westward from the Mississippi across the prairie early in the last century, blazing an unknown trail, suffering hunger, thirst, and hardships, but ever daunted. The Knights of the Ku Klux Klan do not feel that it was for these that our grandfathers welded a union of states into a great and glorious America. with their blood in 1861. When was there a war that could compare with this? No struggle has ever excelled this in fierceness or equaled it in percentage of loss, yet none was more marked by that absence of cruelty toward the vanquished which characterized the termination of our Civil War. "Brethren of ours are these men," exclaimed the Union commander when the incomparable remnant of Lee's army, surrounded by 10 times their number, grounded their arms, and not a salvo of rejoicing was fired. The soldiers of Grant made haste to open their haversacks and uncork their flasks to revive and sustain the starving heroes of the South. Compare this with the slaughter of the aristocracy of France after their revolution, the massacre of the Poles by Russia after their attempted rebellions, and the bloody assizes in England. The Knights of the Ku Klux Klan know that it was for us, their descendants, native-born Americans, that our noble sires worked, struggled, and fought, and it is and always will be the earnest endeavor of the Knights of the Ku Klux Klan to preserve this great nation for its native-born, through Christ Jesus, our criterion of character. The native-born American is the salt of the earth, and the ranks of the Ku Klux Klan are open only to men born in the United States. There should be a revival of the true American spirit that made our country great, and it is the aim and ambition of the Knights of the Ku Klux Klan to play a leading part in the building up of this spirit, not only in its own legions, but among the whole American people. The Knights of the Ku Klux Klan stand for America first, first in thought, first in affection, and first in the galaxy of nations. The spirit of Americanism, as set up by our forefathers, must be preserved and cherished, and kept forever alive by the burning intensity of patriotism and Christian manhood. To preserve this spirit in all its purity, integrity, and perfection, the Knights of the Ku Klux Klan provide a rally point, a guiding hand, and a single aim for all true Americans. Yesterday, today, and forever, God and government, law and liberty, peace and prosperity, America for Americans. The Ku Klux Creed. We, the Order of the Knights of the Ku Klux Klan, reverently acknowledge the majesty and supremacy of the divine being, and recognize the goodness and providence of the same. We recognize our relation to the government of the United States of America, the supremacy of its Constitution, the union of states thereunder, and the constitutional laws thereof, and we shall be ever devoted to the sublime principles of a pure Americanism, and valiant in the defense of its ideals and institutions. We avow the distinction between the races of mankind, as same as has been decreed by the Creator, and shall ever be true in the faithful maintenance of white supremacy, and will strenuously oppose any compromise thereof in any and all things. We appreciate the intrinsic value of a real practical fraternal relationship among men of kindred thought, purpose, and ideals, and the infinite benefits accruable therefrom, and shall faithfully devote ourselves to the practice of an honorable clannishness, that the life and living of each day may be a constant blessing to others.